If you haven't heard of Joe Rogan, you probably live under a rock. His podcast is reaching millions of people on a daily basis. Coming from a martial arts background, he gravitated towards the kettlebell. Skimming through some of his workout videos online, I've compiled a list of 19 powerful kettlebell exercises Joe does on the regular. He does some of these exercises with different tools. So I took my coaching brains to the test to implement everything he does with a kettlebell. And boy, let me tell you, this workout is a grinder. That's the reason why I call it the beast maker. Now make sure to watch until the end of this video, because that's when I'll break down all of Joe's exercises to create a full week training protocol just for you. A quick word about intra-abdominal pressure, IAP. If you're not familiar with breathing, generating intra-abdominal pressure, tensing the abdominals, then this workout is not for you. You also want to steer clear of these exercises if you are a beginner. You have to build the fundamentals first. Now let's check out the exercises. Number one is the Renegade row. This is a combination between a push-up and a row. The plank requires a lot of torso activation, so you have to keep the trunk tight when you do the rows, and this is where breathing comes into play. Especially when you engage in the rowing part of the exercise, you want to be able to create a lot of pressure in your stomach and in your abdominals. Exercise number two is to push press the overhead squat. Now once you bring both kettlebells in the rack and then in the top fixation, you engage in the overhead squat. Push your knees out, chest up, you go down and back up and then back into the rack position, and the exercise starts new. This is a beast of an exercise because the overhead squat defines how well the upper and lower body communicate with each other. Exercise number three is the mace cast. Now Joe does this exercise with a club bell. We will use a kettlebell, so therefore we'll call this exercise the halo. You essentially rotate a kettlebell around your head. Now usually it's recommended to use a lighter kettlebell. However, I believe there are some benefits if you use a heavier kettlebell. You have to make sure though that your upper body mobility is safe, because your rotator cuff muscles will be challenged to the max. Exercise number four is the lunge press. And this is one of the toughest stabilizer exercises I've ever experienced. Your lunge must be perfect, let me tell you. And the push press feels completely different since there's not a lot of push coming from your legs. Again, the IAP has to be on point. You breathe in when you go down and you breathe out once the kettlebell's in the top fixation, but you still got to keep your trunk tight. And once the kettlebell lands back into the rack position, this is where you can relax, but just a little bit. Exercise number five is the bent over reverse fly. Joe does this exercise with a dumbbell. We will use kettlebells. Now I use two very light kettlebells for this one. I have two 8 kgs. Now as you can see, I grab the kettlebell by the horns, because if I would grab the kettlebell by the handle, the bell will always rotate and pivot towards the floor, and this makes the whole exercise fairly uncomfortable. I chose an alternating version because this allows for more stability. Number six is the weighted overhead crunch. Now, I'm a little bit on the fence with this exercise because according to Dr. Stuart McGill, we have to be careful with weighted crunches because it creates a lot of pressure on the spine. However, there are people who don't even tolerate a swing. So you have to proceed at your own discretion with this exercise. Now again, intra-abdominal pressure with this exercise has to be present. The kettlebells are both in the top fixation, and when you come up, you breathe in through the nose to generate that tension. Once you come up, you release some of the air, you push the kettlebells away from you, and then you slowly come down on your back. And when you go up, you do the same thing. This mitigates some of the pressure that you will experience on the lower back. Exercise number seven is the single leg deadlift. You have the kettlebell in one hand, you choose one leg to stabilize, and then your leg goes up, the upper body comes forward, and your stabilizing knee unlocks to a certain extent. Intra-abdominal pressure is key. You have to breathe in when the kettlebell goes down, and even when it touches the ground, you still want to keep the pressure on, and you release the full air once the kettlebell's back in the starting position. Number 8 is the Turkish get up, a fascinating exercise. We actually start overhead, so you start in a snatch or top fixation, you go down into a reverse lunge, then you go down into the half kneeling open position via a windmill. You bring your leg behind you to the front, elbow goes down, and then you slowly pivot towards the floor, and you do the same thing when you come back up. And as you can see, I'm going fairly fast. I have a moderate weight with this 20 kg kettlebell. I believe you can also use the Turkish get up to an extent with some moderate weight where you're going a little bit faster, as long as your technique is safe. Exercise number 9 are push-up climbers. Now, because we engage in push-ups on the handle, we might get a bigger range of motion for the chest and the shoulder. You have to be careful and make sure that your upper body as well as your shoulder mobility allows it. If it doesn't, don't go down too deep. Now, as you can see, when I pull my knee to the elbow, I cross it intentionally. This allows me to get some of the abdominals activated and allows the chest to rest for a couple of seconds. Exercise number 10 is the kettlebell atomic push-up. Just like the previous exercise, Joe is using a TRX. Now, the kettlebell atomic push-up actually increases the demands on your abdominals because your legs are higher up. So this is a great variation that I will continuously incorporate into my training schedule. Exercise number 11 is the single arm chest press. There are two options. You can either do it on the floor or you can do it on a bench. If you have a bench at home, use the bench. If you don't have one, you just use the floor. If you are doing this exercise on the floor, you can use a similar execution as you would do in the Turkish get-up. The only difference is that you place your elbows a little bit more outside to get a greater stretch and some greater activation of your chest. If you are doing it on the bench, you have to be careful because the kettlebell pulls your arm almost apart and wants to rip your upper arm out of your shoulder socket. So your shoulder mobility as well as your strength has to be on par. Exercise number 12 is the reverse lunge. Both kettlebells are in the suitcase position. You take one step back, you go down and you come back up, and you think about standing on trend lines instead of thinking about you walking on a tightrope. So you are standing in that shoulder width position. Intra-abdominal pressure is incredibly important if we are doing an exercise that requires more stability. So you breathe in through the nose before your knee touches the ground, and once the knee comes back up, this is where you release the air. Exercise number 13, the banded goblet squat. Now, because of the power band, you will get some increased work from your outer thighs. Other than that, you do the same thing as you would do in a normal goblet squat. You push your knees out, upper body's upright, and the elbows connect with your inner thighs. You push them outside, and then you come back up. IAP, once again, very important. You breathe in through your nose when you go down. You keep the air inside your stomach, and when you come back up, this is where you release the air fully. Exercise number 14 is the bell reach push-up. You place the kettlebell a little bit in front of you because you don't want to hit your head when you go down into a push-up. Once you come up, you touch the handle first with your left hand and then with your right hand. Exercise number 15 is the windmill. You have to understand the concept of the side hinge to properly execute this exercise. The kettlebell's in the top fixation. You engage in the side hinge. You face your kettlebell. Your upper body comes down. You feel a slight stretch in your hamstrings, and then you come back up. You want to make sure that you have enough mobility and enough shoulder strength to keep the kettlebell where it's supposed to be. Exercise number 16, the clean, one of the basics of the kettlebell. You stand at the triangle, pull the kettlebell into the backswing, use your hips to transport the kettlebell forward. Then you use the so-called acceleration pull to pull the kettlebell outside of the horizontal into the vertical plane. You jump from the finger grip into the hook grip, and then you do the same thing again. Exercise number 17 is the clean and press the overhead squat. Now, we talked about the clean already. Now, when you press the kettlebell up in the top fixation, we use a strict press, and then we go down into the overhead squat. You push your knees outside, your upper body is straight, and then you go down into the squat, and then you come back up. Here you stand a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, or you just stand wider than your regular clean stance because the overhead squat demands it. Number 18 is the kettlebell row or the kettlebell stretch row. If you do it on the floor and you don't have a bench, you just row the kettlebell like you would a dumbbell. If you have a bench, you set yourself up like you would in a normal dumbbell row, and then you want to bring your arm down as farthest as you can go so you can get that nice stretch on your lats, and then you pull the kettlebell back up. Exercise number 19, the single hand swing, a powerhouse of an exercise and one of the fundamentals and core tenets of kettlebell training. Pulling the kettlebell into the backswing and then using your hips to do the work. And exercise number 20 as a bonus, the hand-to-hand swing. The same principles apply as in exercise number 19. The only difference is that you're switching hands at chest level. The workout protocol offers you two options, A and B. Beastmaker A is the long format. It consists out of all 19 exercises. You do 5 reps per exercise, 10 total if the exercise is unilateral. Use 30 seconds of rests in between exercises. The workout takes about 35 minutes to complete. You do one full round. This is one workout, and you do it 3 days per week. Beastmaker B is the short format, and it's split into 2 workouts. B1 is exercise 1 through 10, and B2 is exercise 10 through 20. Reps and rest are the same as in Beastmaker A. Workout protocol is 4 days of training per week. Day 1 is B1, day 2 is B2, day 3 is rest. Day 4 is B1, day 5 is B2, and day 6 and 7 rest again. The upside of this workout is it is a great muscle builder since we have a lot of time on attention and we're using a lot of heavy grinding lifts. Most kettlebell workouts are hip dominant. This one has a strong tendency for upper body work, and you have to be highly motivated to do it. And this leads us to the downside of this workout. It takes a long time to complete. It has many exercises which can be challenging to follow after a hard day's work, and there's lots of thinking involved. As I mentioned in the beginning, I did the Beastmaker by myself, and it was excruciating and yet very enjoyable. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it and consider subscribing, and let me know down in the comments what you think about the Beastmaker. 90 Days of Kettlebells is an online workout course for beginners who want to train at home, lose weight, and achieve lasting results without wasting time and money with crash diets and unused gym memberships. The program works as follows. You will do 3 kettlebell workouts per week that gradually increase in difficulty. You'll also build 3 powerful eating habits that have proven successful in our coaching. As the name implies, the program lasts 90 days and you will have lifelong access after purchase. We also include live accountability sessions where you will publicly state your goals. Psychology shows us that if we make our goals public, our adherence to the process and the program increases dramatically. If you have been struggling to put together an elaborate kettlebell workout system while trying to lose weight, then 90 Days of Kettlebells is for you. The price of 90 Days of Kettlebells is $59 per month for 3 months, and you can save 20% with a one-time payment of $147. We'll open registration only to a small number of new clients. Join the waiting list now to get access 24 hours before the general public. Link is in the description.